We were that close.
That was a start, you know.
I was telling him that.
Yeah,
There was almost a coup.
yeah, there was, the coup,
Like literally, he had.
I'd stolen the gavel, yeah, and I was just about to whack it. You were that close. Not that you would have cared, that much, I think.
All the fun at council time. Need these? They work?
Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Encinitas Water District to order.
Do the roll call. Board Member Lyons,
Present.
Board Member San Antonio,
Present.
Board Member Schaefer,
Here.
Vice President Ehlers,
Here.
and President O'Hara.
Present.
Record will show that all members of San Diego Water District are present, and San Diego Water District board members receive an independent stipend of $100 for convening the Water District meetings pursuant to San Diego Water District Resolution Number 89-07.
All right, we'll all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll invite our Vice President Ehlers to get us started.
Okay, ready, begin.
All right, we'll move to. We have no special presentations at this time that I'm aware of.
That is correct.
Okay, we'll move to any oral communications.
We have no speakers tonight, and then moving to the report from closed session. We did not have a closed session for San Diego Water District, and moving along, there were no changes to the posted agenda, and moving along to the consent calendar, no items were removed by any members of the public.
Okay, so no items were removed. We'll look for a motion.
Move to approve?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second.
That motion carries unanimously and takes us to item 10A.
Okay, and 10A are action items. To speak on action items, please submit a pink speaker slip to the city clerk. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the board. Maximum 2 time donations per speaker is allowed. At this time, do we have any public speakers?
We do not.
Okay, so this is item 10A, San Diego Water District Fiscal Year Mid-Year Budget Report, brought to us by Finance Manager Aguilar.
All right, good evening. Thank you. This is a report halfway through our current fiscal year 2026. Starting with our water district revenues, we are showing a little bit above halfway through the year, so 52% of our budgeted revenue has come in, or $13.2 million. On the screen, I'm showing the 4 highest categories for our revenue, the highest one being potable water sales. They're at 47% of our budget. That is expected for this time of year, and we expect that to increase with the low precipitation that happened in January, though it does feel a little silly saying that given the rain we have had recently in the past couple of days, but this is dependent on rainfall. For our potable meter service charges, they are at 57% of budgeted revenue, and that revenue is based on how many active meters we have in the system at any given time. Our capacity fees, while they are showing 484% over budget for revenue, it's actually only about 5% of our total revenue. Capacity fees are based on development and are hard to predict. And then our 4th highest category for revenue are recycled water sales, which are expected for this type of time of year. On the expenditure side, we are under budget at 47% of budget. CIP expenditures to date this fiscal year totaled about $1.5 million. On the screen are the 4 highest categories for expenditures, the top one being potable water purchases. This category is hard to budget for because there are a lot of variables that affect it. So precipitation, local water availability, plant outages, and also water authority rates, which are not always available at the same time as our budgeting. So this is one category where staff is monitoring, and if there are any adjustments to budget needed, you would see those with the 3rd quarter report. Our personnel budget is 54% spent, which is expected for this time of year. Our water treatment budget, so what the district pays Santa Fe Irrigation District for treatment at the Badger plant, is at 48% spent. And I do have a budget increase request that I will touch on in a subsequent slide. Our internal cost allocation for what the district pays the city for things like human resources and IT support is 50% spent, which is what we would expect. This slide is regarding our net position and reserves and is a slide that you've seen before the past couple months. It does show that we have 3 different reserve categories for the district, and they're listed in the order of priority for funding. So our operating reserve is our top priority, and we do have enough funds to meet that target reserve amount. We are below target in our capital improvement reserve and currently have no money available to set aside for rate stabilization. Having reserves below the targeted amount was part of the strategy to minimize rate increases the last time the board approved rate increases. And before the next cost of service update, staff is working with an expert rate consultant on evaluating our reserve policy to make sure it continues to make sense as we lead into our next rate study. Briefly regarding fleet, the board with our current budget did approve replacement of 3 vehicles in the current fiscal year. The first 2 vehicles have already been purchased, and those are replacements for 2 Ford F-150s, as shown on the screen. The final vehicle approved for replacement this fiscal year is a valve truck. The original amount approved with budget was $93,000, which is enough to cover the vehicle chassis, or the base of the vehicle. The budget did not include all of the outfitting costs, including building onto that chassis a utility truck bed, valve exercising machine, and safety lights. So staff is asking for a proposed increase to cover those costs. You may be wondering what a valve exercising truck is or what it does. So, throughout our underground system of pipes, there are valves that are normally open so water can flow through. But in the case of a water main break or other emergency, staff need to be able to quickly isolate a section of the distribution system and keep the water geyser from causing flooding and property damage. And so regular valve exercising is part of a proactive asset maintenance strategy to make sure that there's no mineral buildup in the valves and that they can be closed so that water can be turned off in an emergency such as a main break. So we are asking for an increase to our budget to cover the full outfitting of that vehicle, including the valve exercising machine. Some of that budget will come as a transfer from our operating fund. There also is a small amount of revenue from auction sales. So when we replace our vehicles, the old vehicles are sold at auction, and that money will also go towards supporting these costs. So there are a number of recommended fiscal actions included as an exhibit to the resolution. Some of them have a net zero impact and are just transfers between different CIP projects. On this screen, I've highlighted those requested actions that do have an impact. So briefly, the top one is increasing our revenue budgeted for our Water Authority Infrastructure Access Pass-Through Charge. This is a cleanup budgeting item as part of the one-time prepayment of fixed costs to the Water Authority. So it will increase our revenue budgeted, and ultimately it will show a higher net available position at the end of the current year. And then, like I had said, we did sell a vehicle at auction, an old vehicle, and got some auction revenue. And so we are asking to increase the budget to show, better show how that revenue is coming in. I had mentioned on a previous slide that we are coming in a little tight on the water treatment budget. So our budget for the Badger plant was set before Santa Fe Irrigation District had the chance to finalize their budget for the current fiscal year. So now that we have their final budget, staff is requesting a $30,000 increase to our budget so that we match what Santa Fe is anticipating our share will be for that shared treatment plant. And then finally, there's an increase, like I said, to cover that gap in outfitting our valve truck. The recommended actions are to receive and file the mid-year report for FY26 and to adopt Resolution 2026-02, amending our budget. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Are there any questions of clarification, or let's bring it up here. There we go. Okay, Board Member Linz.
Thank you. Could you, I have 2 questions. One is, could you help please clarify, it looked like our water treatment costs were down if you could go back to the water treatment costs, but yet we're asking for additional water treatment funds to help cover our share with the Santa Fe Irrigation District. Could you help me understand that?
Yes, thank you. So this report was developed at 50% of the way through the fiscal year. So we would want to see our percent of budget spent, ideally at below 50%. But for the third row down in the slide shown, we are already at 48% of our budget. So it's a little too close. And the reason it's close is that this particular line item was budgeted based on preliminary figures from Santa Fe Irrigation District because they develop their budget about the same time as we develop our budget every spring. So then after we had our preliminary number, they finalized their budget, and the Santa Fe budget has a line that shows how much they expect to receive from San Diego each year for all of the treatment costs at the Badger plant. So the request is to increase our budget to reflect the final budget that Santa Fe has.
Okay, I get that. I'm just trying to make sense of, we're only at 48%, which, okay, is around 50%. That seems to me to be where we should be. But this is more a prediction of what the Santa Fe Irrigation District is predicting for the costs for the rest of the year with the water
That's
quality.
correct. Excuse me. That's correct. And I would also say that just as from my perspective as a budget manager, especially on an item like this that is dependent on rainfall and demands, being that close to 50% is not prudent. So if it's a dry spring and Santa Fe needs to treat a lot more water, then we'll go over budget.
Got it. It's not enough buffer to feel comfortable.
That's
for-
correct.
And it depends on the
Exactly.
demand.
Yeah.
The 48% reflects the demand that was in the first 6 months. We anticipate it to be more in the next 6 months just because of the hot months.
Okay, that makes sense too. Overall, I would conclude then that our water treatment costs are higher overall, and I remember that from last year too because we're using lower quality local water. Is that a fair way of saying it? Okay, because we're getting water that's lower from Hodges.
And obviously, in addition to the fact that all the chemical cost has went up during the last couple of years, that is used at
The costs are.
chlorine and whatever have you, that those prices went up.
The other question I have, sorry for my delay in continuing. The other question I have is if you could explain the infrastructure access charge revenue. I remember we prepaid the water authority because that made sense for us. It was a smart decision. I think it was last year, wasn't it, or was it 2024? We prepaid. It made sense for us. It made sense for them. We agreed to do that. So is this then getting us kind of back on our regular track with? Could you
Yes,
could say it much
that's
better.
correct. I will try. So it is true that we prepaid for calendar year 2025 for the fixed charges. So that's half of our current fiscal year. So on the expenditure side, we only budgeted half a year's worth of fixed charges. On the revenue side, we also only budgeted half a year of the infrastructure access charge. However, even though we prepaid to the water authority, our customers did not prepay. So the infrastructure access charge that our customers are paying to us keeps coming in. So right now, 6 months through the fiscal year, it's showing us near 100% of budget.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, I appreciate it.
Vice President Ehlers?
Yeah, so I had the same question. So why weren't we budgeted accordingly? In other words, what didn't we budget that maybe we should have, or how did it double what the pass-through revenue would have been?
So my understanding is that I think the thinking at the time was that expenditures would be half, and because it's a pass-through, in general, the expenditures budgeted for the infrastructure access charge should match the revenue for the infrastructure access charge. That's for that pass-through. In this particular case, we prepaid the expense, and so we budgeted half. But we didn't pause the revenue, so the revenue has still been continuously coming in from customers.
So the budget was off by that half because of the prepayment from a prior fiscal year that extended into this fiscal year. Okay.
That's
And
correct.
I just add to that the difference is we go by fiscal year and the CWA went by calendar year, so we
Okay.
have to make the payment in December, and that's why it wasn't budgeted.
So this is a one-time
Yes.
A cleanup.
cleanup,
Yes.
okay.
It was a
very good.
pilot.
Moving on to the rate stabilization reserve, how many dollars would that be? How many are we short on the capital reserve from our policy? And how many dollars are we short on the rate stabilization reserve?
Sure. Okay, I have to find my number. So on the capital replacement reserve, we're short $4.2 million. And on the rate stabilization reserve, we're short $3.3 million.
Okay, great. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Board Member Schaefer?
Well, it's interesting. I was just laughing to myself because of how all these different boards marry up. So we're making votes over at Santa Fe Irrigation to get the rates settled, but we're late over here. So it was more just an observation, just how they're all affected with the. So I just wanted to say the irony, but I motion to approve, to receive, but also to approve the item.
I'll second it, I guess I can. I just had a question. Can you clarify our current reserve policy? And you mentioned it a little bit, but you didn't say, we had talked about adjusting the policy. And where do we end up in 2025-26?
So actually, I might have a slide for that. Let's see. So the slide shown shows where we were at the start of 2025, 2026. And under our current policy, the operating reserve requires 90 days worth of our annual operating expenses. And the capital reserve is 1 year of our projected CIP spend for the over a 5-year outlook. And then the rate stabilization reserve is currently calculated at 15% of the proposed following year's annual water rate and service charge. So a revenue-based calculation.
Okay, I appreciate that. So the change in this will this be part of the pass-through that we see to affect this, to get this back to where we want it to be?
So we just this week finalized an agreement with a consultant to look at our reserve policy, and there are a couple of different questions. One of them is how shifting towards pass-throughs will affect the policy, and if there are any adjustments needed for pass-throughs. Another thing we're looking at is how we hold money for things, large, long-term unknowns. So, for example, Lake Hodges Dam. And so those are some right now, our Lake Hodges costs are in our regular capital improvement budget. And so it's inflating how much we need to hold in that reserve.
Thank you. Appreciate the clarification on that. I don't see any more questions up here. Are there any questions from the board? All right, then we should turn to vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, next up are informational items. I see that there are none on here. Move to board member reports pursuant to AB 1234. We'll start with Councilmember Lyons, or Board Member Lyons.
I have nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
I attended both the Santa Fe Irrigation District. A lot of good things happening over there. There was some talk about the Lake Hodges scenario stuff. And then also attended my first meeting at San Leo JPA as the chair, and it's going swimmingly over there. So anyway, that's all I had to report.
Nothing to report.
And I also have nothing to report. Does the city manager report, or do we general manager report on this one?
Yeah.
General manager.
Thank you, President O'Hara. I have a couple of things that I would like to share with the board. Today at 1 p.m., the city of San Diego started releasing water from Lake Hodges due to the recent rain event. The level in Lake Hodges is currently at 278.5, and the restricted level that was imposed by the Department of Safety of Dams is 280. So they wanted to make sure that they would not exceed that, specifically with the larger watershed that's Hodges has. So we're anticipating that they will continue releasing water until the next week, depending obviously on how much the level will raise in the dam. The other part I would like to share with you is obviously that the San Diego Water District, Santa Fe Irrigation District, and OMWD will be hosting a free native plant and water-wise landscaping workshop on Saturday, March 14th from 10 to 11:30 at the OMWD boardroom. This workshop is to educate the public how to select native and water-wise plants, design a water-efficient landscape, and maintain health growth. And it's that time of the year, we have the two contests that the San Diego Water District participates with the North County agencies. One for the poster contest, which is the fourth grader, and the other one is for the landscape contest. The fourth grader contest, the due date is April 10th, and for the Water Smart Landscape contest is May 8th, and we have all the information on our website for those that are interested in submitting. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Super. And we'll give those awards out here at City Council. And
We will give the awards hopefully in May and June. Usually that's what.
Fantastic. And I think that's all we have to report. At this time, this meeting of the San Diego Water District is adjourned.
Yay. Go. At a half hour.